Friends, you're welcome to this session of Powershell, and today I'm going to discuss about arrays and hash table. So let's start. I'm starting a machine of Windows Server 2012. I'm starting PowerShell over here. First of all, what is array? In the previous session you have studied about a variable. So I'm to explain the array, I'm going to the variable. Suppose I'm going to create a variable by the name code, okay, and I want to store an employee code to that, like 101. So this variable will store the code of a single employee. What will be happen if I had to store the code of multiple employees? Suppose 100 employees. I have to create 100 variables. But this will not be easy to handle. If I will create 100 variables for 100 employees, if there are 1000 employees or more, I have to create 1000 variables. So it is very tedious if I will handle such kind of thing using a variable. We have a simple solution, and that is array. How can we handle that? I'm making some changes to this variable declaration. I'm writing here comma and then the second element, okay, then comma the third element, and like this you can store as many values to this variable as many you want. Okay, so now this code will not be variable, this will be an array. Okay, what will be the benefit? First of all, I'm printing its value. You're watching here, all the values has been displayed just like a normal variable. If I have to print any particular value, if I have to print any particular member of this array, how can I do that? All these values, either I'm talking about 101, 102, all these values are stored in array using an index number, and this index number start from 0, means first element will store at index 0, second element will store at index 1, third at index 2, and so on. If I have to print the first element, what I can do? You will write here the array name, the square bracket, and the index number. So 0 means first element. You are watching here first element. If I'm writing here, instead of 0, I'm writing here 2. So which element it will print? The third element, right? Okay, so like this I can access any of the element from the array. So now, as I told you that we can store multiple values to the array, like if I have to store the employee code of 100 employees, then what should I do? Should I give all the values using a comma? No, not actually necessary. So how can you do that? Just watch here. I'm writing here code equals to, I'm writing here 101 double dot and the last value, for example 150. So it will store all the values from 101 to 150 to this array. Should I display it? Yes. Enter. So you are watching here, all these values has been stored. It is so easy. Now I'm going to show you one thing. I'm creating a string variable like X, and I'm storing the name of any city to it, like New Delhi. So this will create a variable, right? But I'm saying this will not create a variable, but this will create an array. How can I say that? Just check it. I'm printing any particular element, like first element. You're watching here, and means I can retrieve, I can access any of the element from this array. Okay, so this is a character type array. What will happen means, how can we store multiple and the different type of values to the array? like I have to store string, numbers, etc, etc. So can I store all the different kinds of values to a single array? Yes. How can I do that? Just check it. I'm creating an X array and storing different values like first string, comma, second value like number, any number, and third string like Mumbai, and I want to store date type also, so I want to store current date. So if you have to use any such kind of keyword like get date, you have to store that into a bracket. Okay, press enter. So now a array has been created and it has the different kind of values like string, number, string, and then the date type. If you have to print any particular number, in the same way you can print $x, which number? Third number. Mumbai. What's about the fourth number? So for fourth number I have to use third index. You're watching here current date. Fine. So this was the way to store different kind of values to the array, but I'm going to show you another thing, and that is I can store the output of any command to any array. How can I do that? All of you know about ipconfig. You know about it. It will display the network settings like IP address, subnet mask, etc. So what I want that I want to store this output to any array. How can I do that? $array name like a equals to the command ipconfig, enter. That has been stored. Can I check it? Yeah, I can print the value of this array. You're watching here. So all these values has been stored to the array A. If I have to check the length of any array, means how many members or how many rows are there in the array, how can I check that? The array name and length. So you're watching here 16, but there are the different number of what's that for that characters you're watching here. Okay, but it is not showing the number of characters, but it is showing the number of rows. So it has 16 rows. Fine. So if I have to print any particular row or particular element from the array, so in the same way I can do that. Like I'm printing sixth element. So it is that. Okay, so you can also print or you can also count the length using the count variable, like using the count keyword of the array. Sorry, how can I do that? In the same way as I have used length, in the same way I can use count. So you're watching here, it is also giving the same result. Okay, even another thing I want to show you, that if you have to print the last element, like you remember about X we have created, fine. So I want to display the last element of that. So in case if I don't know how many characters are there, then which index should I use? I want to print last element. So which index should I write over here? I don't know, but I have a method like I can use length or count of the array, and depending on that I can print the last element. How can I do that? I can write here x dot length -1. You know the index is always one less than the position of the element. Okay, so I'm pressing enter. So like this you can display the last element. If you have to print any some number of elements, not a single element, but you have to print multiple number of elements, so how can you do that? Like I'm printing from array A, I want to print the 5th, 6th, 7th element. Enter. So it is giving 5th is blank, 6th and 7th element. So this was the way to access the elements from the array, and I hope you understand that well. My next topic is HashTable. HashTable. So what is HashTable? HashTable is just like an array, but there are some differences. So I'm not going to any particular definition of HashTable. I'm just explaining you that. I'm creating an array list and storing different values to it. Like first of all, I want to store my machine name, that is suppose PC1. I want to store its IP address, suppose this, and I want to store username also, suppose this. All these variables are string type, so these should be stored in double quotes. So no doubt this is an array. Okay, so if I have to access any element, very well, I will use the index number and I will access this array. But I want to focus you over here. What is this? PC1. What is this? This is a machine name. How do you know that this is machine name? Because I told you this is machine name. So it will be better if it is easy to, just by watching that I can understand that this is in machine name. If I write it like this, machine equals to this and IP equals to this and user equals to this, right? So I can use these kind of keys to identify the values so that I can understand that well. Okay, now I have to make some changes also, like I'm replacing this comma by semicolon. In array we were using comma, so here I am replacing it by semicolon. And what next thing I am doing here, I am closing in these braces. Sorry. Okay, and only another change I have to make, and that is at the rate. So now this is no more in array. What is this now? This is in HashTable. Okay, I'm pressing enter. Has been created. I want to display it. Just in the same way as we print array, in the same way we can print HashTable. So you're watching here the difference. This is in form of a table. That's why we call it a HashTable. Okay, suppose if you have to print any particular value, any particular element from the HashTable, how can we print that? In the same way we do with array. I'm writing here, but here in place of index number, what I will use? I will use the key name. Okay, and enter. So here you're watching. It means HashTable is nothing but an array which will store the values in form of key combinations. Fine. So again we have another way to print a particular key or particular element from the HashTable, and what is that? HashTable name dot key. Enter. You're watching here. If we have to print multiple keys, how can you do that? Suppose I want to print the machine name and IP address both. You can use multiple keys separated by comma and press enter. So here you're watching. So this was the way we can handle a hash table. I think it will be interesting to you. Thank you for watching.